Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Amritpal Singh. Coming up in the next 30 minutes, Bangladesh's business community pulls up the interim government for failure in handling law and order situation. Says it'll be difficult to maintain the economy. US President-elect Donald Trump threatens 100% tariff on BRICS nations if they undercut the US dollar. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad vows to defeat terrorists as rebels sweep into Aleppo. Russia conducts airstrikes in support of President Assad. And rain slashed Tamil Nadu, Puducherry as cyclonic storm Fengal makes landfall. Weather office warns of continuous rainfall for the next 2 to 3 days. The business community in Bangladesh on Saturday said that the interim government has failed to tackle the country's law and order situation. Business leaders expressed their concerns at a business conference organized by the Dhaka Chamber of Commerce and Industry. They said it will be difficult to maintain the economy if the situation does not improve soon. And Managing Director of the BRAC Bank said though the government is trying to rebuild the institutions which were destroyed over the years, but the government has failed to handle the law and order situation. While Incepta Pharmaceuticals Chairman Abdul Muqtadir Rahman said that the law and order situation has declined sharply and the government must fix a timeline to fix the situation. Followers of the International Society of Krishna Consciousness ISKCON worldwide organized special prayers on Sunday for the safety and security of all religious minorities in Bangladesh. ISKCON made the appeal in response to widespread protests in Bangladesh following the arrest of Chinmoy Krishnadas in a sedition case. This comes as a spate of attacks on the Hindu and other communities in Bangladesh in recent months, which also included vandalization of temples and idols of deities. Last night, a prominent woman journalist named Munni Saha was arrested by the police from Karwan Bazaar in Dhaka city. She was later released on a payment of a bond under Section 497 of the Code of Criminal Procedure or the CRPC. However, Saha will have to seek bail from a court and adhere to police summons. And amid an intensifying conflict between the Syrian government and the rebel factions, videos from the White Helmets aid group revealed devastating aftermath of airstrikes on schools in Aleppo and Idlib on Friday. In Aleppo, a massive crater and a heavily damaged building scarred the grounds of a boys' school. In Idlib, debris was strewn across the area surrounding another school hit by an airstrike. On Saturday, the Syrian army reported heavy losses, stating that dozens of soldiers were killed during a major offensive, making one of the most significant challenges to President Bashar al-Assad in years. The escalation follows Syrian rebels' unexpected advance into Aleppo on Friday after capturing several government-held towns. And Syrian President Bashar al-Assad said on Saturday that his country could defeat all terrorists and their backers after the rebels seized dozens of towns and overran most of Syria's second city of Aleppo. This is being viewed as the biggest challenge to President Assad in years. The United States is monitoring the situation and has blamed Assad's reliance on Russia and Iran for loss of Aleppo control. More in this report.
The situation in Syria appears to be in a very volatile state. Rebel forces in Syria have taken control of most of the country's second largest city, Aleppo. This is according to the UK-based monitoring group Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, SOHR. The SOHR reports that over 300 people, including more than 20 civilians, have been killed since the offensive started on Wednesday. Meanwhile, the Syrian military said that dozens of its troops had been killed during an insurgent attack in northwestern Syria and that rebels had managed to enter large parts of Aleppo city, forcing the army to redeploy. The Syrian military statement was the first public acknowledgement by the army that insurgents led by the Islamist Hayat Tahrir al-Sham had entered the government-held city of Aleppo in a surprise attack that began earlier this week. This was the first such attack by rebels in 8 years. On Friday, Russia had urged the Syrian government to restore constitutional order in the Aleppo region as soon as possible. However, seeing the situation worsen, Russia launched airstrikes in parts of Aleppo overnight on Saturday. So let's try to understand this conflict. The Kurdish-dominated Syrian Defense Forces controls most of northeastern Syria. It regularly clashes with Arab tribes that accuse the group of discrimination. Turkey and its proxies also control areas along the northern border and have ramped up attacks on Kurdish forces. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad now controls about 70% of Syria's territory. Turkish troops have been involved in ground operations against the Islamic State since 2016 and have launched attacks against armed Kurdish groups in Syria. When the civil war began in 2011, there were 4 main factions of fighting groups throughout the country. They are Kurdish forces, ISIS, other oppositions such as Jaish al-Fatah and the Assad regime. The ongoing violence against civilians has been condemned by the Arab League, the European Union, the United States and other countries. Nearly 5.5 million Syrian refugees live in the 5 countries neighboring Syria: Turkey, Lebanon, Jordan, Iraq and Egypt. Germany is the largest non-neighboring host country with more than 850,000 Syrian refugees. Over the years, the conflict has evolved into a complex war involving jihadists and foreign powers. While the Syrian army has regained control of most of the territory it lost earlier in the war, the area where jihadists and their allies are based has been under a truce since 2020. Bureau Report, DD India.
Israel's military intercepted a projectile launched from Yemen on Sunday, preventing it from entering Israeli territory. The military earlier said that sirens had sounded in a number of areas in central Israel following a launch from Yemen. Negotiators on a treaty to curb plastic pollution face tough debate on the last day of scheduled talks in South Korea. The 5th and the final UN Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee meeting to yield a legally binding global treaty is set to wrap up in Busan on Sunday, but a final plenary session has not been set. Countries remained far apart on Sunday morning on the basic scope of the treaty. An option proposed by Panama, backed by over 100 countries, would create a path for global plastic production reduction target, while another proposal does not include production caps.
Plastics are not convenience. Plastics are poison. Every piece that we allow to produce without limits is a direct assault on our health, on our nature, and our children. For those blocking progress, you are allowing this crisis to fester, and it will kill us. This is just not a treaty about plastics. This is humanity's line on the sand. If we don't get an ambitious treaty out of Busan, it will be a global betrayal.
If it does not have the provisions or what we expect from an ambitious treaty, then we'll come back to the multilateral process and go back to the same process pushing for an ambitious treaty. Like we've said, and like all of us in this table have said, nobody is going to leave Busan with a weak treaty. Nobody is going to accept a weak treaty.
A smaller number of petrochemical producing nations such as Saudi Arabia have strongly opposed efforts to target plastic production and have tried to use procedural tactics to delay negotiations. China, the United States, India, South Korea and Saudi Arabia were the top 5 primary polymer producing nations in 2023. Plastic production is on track to triple by 2050 and microplastics have been found in air, fresh produce and even human breast milk. The chair of the meeting, Louis Wyas, is set to release a revised document on Sunday that could form the basis of a treaty. A treaty could be the most significant deal relating to environmental protection as well as climate warming emissions since the 2015 Paris Agreement. Taiwanese President Lai Ching-te began a 2-day U.S. stopover in Hawaii on Saturday as part of the Pacific tour. Lai will be in Hawaii for the first 2 days before going to Marshall Islands. Tuvalu and Palau, 3 of the 12 countries which retain formal diplomatic ties with Taipei. This is Lai's first foreign trip since taking office in May. Earlier, talking to media, and the Taiwanese president declared his democratically governed island as a key force for promoting global peace and stability.
This trip is the beginning of a new era of value-based diplomacy. Democracy, prosperity and peace are the expectations of the people of Taiwan, and they are also the values that I, as president, must actively promote. I will continue to expand cooperation and deepen our partnership with friends and neighbors based on the values of democracy, peace and prosperity, so that the world can see that Taiwan is not only a model of democracy, but also a key force in promoting global peace, stability and prosperity.
U.S. President-elect Donald Trump warned BRICS countries against replacing the U.S. dollar, threatening them with 100% tariffs. Trump also sought a commitment from these countries to not create a new BRICS currency nor support any other currency. Trump made these remarks on his social media platform, Truth Social. Meanwhile, Donald Trump on Saturday added new names to his team, nominating New York real estate developer Charles Kushner as the U.S. ambassador to France. Kushner, who is father of Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, was also a member in the first term of the Trump administration. In 2004, Kushner was sentenced to 2 years after pleading guilty on 18 counts, including tax evasion and making illegal campaign donations. However, he was pardoned by Trump during his first term as president in 2020. And Donald Trump nominated Kash Patel as the director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Announcing his nomination, Trump in a social media post said that Kash is a brilliant lawyer, investigator and America First fighter. Further, Trump highlighted his role in exposing corruption, defending justice and protecting the American people. Supporters celebrated outside the UK Parliament in London after MPs voted in favour of a new bill to legalise assisted dying on Friday. Terminally ill adults bill would provide for mentally competent terminally ill adults in England and Wales who are assessed by doctors the right to choose to end their lives with medical help. Supporter of the bill, a retired probation officer, Hilary Hare Duke, believes opponents of the decision still have a choice after the vote. Referring to supporters of the result, she said, "It's a matter of choice."
I mean, I do absolutely respect the people who were opposed to it and their heartfelt reasons for why they were opposed. But this was always about choice, and they still have choice. But now so do we. And I'm feeling very emotional, but it's a marvellous day, a marvellous day.
Romanians are casting ballots in a parliamentary election on Sunday, sandwiched between two-round presidential race. Sunday's vote will elect a new government and a prime minister and will determine the formation of the country's 466-seat legislature. While the president has significant decision-making powers in Romania, it's the prime minister that heads the government. Myanmar's Navy opened fire on a group of Thai fishing vessels on Saturday. One of the boats with 31 fishermen on board was detained by Myanmar's Navy during the encounter. 3 fishermen jumped into the water during the incident, one of whom drowned, while 2 others were rescued by the Thai Navy. Still to come on this edition of DD India Live, World AIDS Day being observed with the theme Take the Right Path, My Health, My Right. And Brussels kicks off Christmas season with a spectacular light show.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 p.m. every Thursday on DD India.
You're watching DD India Live. I'm Amritpal Singh. World AIDS Day is observed on the 1st of December each year. This year, the theme Take the Rights Path, My Health, My Right highlights the importance of healthcare as a basic right. But how does HIV, the virus that causes AIDS, actually enter the body, and what happens when it does? What challenges do those living with HIV face? Can they ever truly overcome this disease? Today, we unravel the answers, how lives can be saved, improved, and protected.
The silent attacker, known as HIV, human immunodeficiency virus, spreads in ways many don't fully understand. Most commonly, it passes through unsafe sexual contact, but it can also be transmitted via infected blood, shared needles, or from mother to a child during childbirth or breastfeeding. Yet, despite widespread myths, HIV does not spread through casual contact like touching, hugging, or sharing meals. When HIV enters the body, its mission is stealthy but devastating. The virus targets the body's immune system, specifically the CD4 cells, also known as the helper T cells. These are the body's frontline defense against infections. Once inside, the virus inserts its genetic material into the CD4 cell's nucleus, effectively hijacking the cell to replicate itself. Over time, this viral army grows silently, often without causing immediate symptoms. Years can pass before the real damage begins. Gradually, HIV destroys the immune system, leaving the body vulnerable to opportunistic infections and diseases. This is the critical stage when HIV progresses to AIDS, or acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. Without treatment, AIDS severely diminishes the body's ability to fight even minor illnesses, often leading to fatal outcomes. But this is not a hopeless fight. Antiretroviral therapy, ART. These life-saving medications suppress the virus, preventing it from replicating further and allowing the immune system to rebuild. ART, when taken consistently and correctly, can prevent the progression from HIV to AIDS. ART is not just a treatment, it is a lifeline. Across the country, ART centers provide free medication, ensuring that cost is never a barrier to survival. However, the battle against HIV isn't just about the treatment, it's also about awareness and prevention. Early detection is critical. Regular testing, safe sexual practices, and caution with blood exposure are key to preventing HIV infection. The message is clear. HIV infection is not the end of life. With timely medication intervention and consistent treatment, people can live long and fulfilling lives. But it all begins with awareness, compassion, and taking the right steps towards prevention and care. This World AIDS Day, let's pledge to fight stigma, spread awareness, and ensure that everyone's right to health is protected. Because together, we can turn the tide against AIDS. Preeti Kaur for DD India.
And addressing the national event for the World AIDS Day 2024 in Madhya Pradesh's Indore city, India's Minister of Health and Family Welfare, JP Nadda, said that one should develop sensitivity and stand for the human rights for people suffering from HIV.
AIDS के साथ जो लोग जी रहे हैं, people living with HIV, उनकी स्थिति को समझें, जाने, सेंसिटिविटी डेवलप करें और उसके साथ साथ उनके ह्यूमन राइट्स की रक्षा करें। ये आज के दिन हम सब लोगों को संदेश देना चाहिए और साल भर फॉर द होल लॉन्ग ईयर वी शुड डेडिकेट आवरसेल्व्स एंड रीइटरेट दैट वी आर देयर फॉर द ह्यूमन राइट्स ऑफ पीपल लिविंग विद HIV.
Southern India's Puducherry is facing critical flood-like situation due to heavy rainfall after a cyclonic storm Fengal made a landfall late on Saturday night. Most areas of the city have been inundated with water and with significant water levels reaching knee-deep heights in central areas including White Town and Nehru Street. The electrical supply has been completely disrupted and mobile communication is severely impacted. The urban infrastructure is under immense strain with transportation and daily activities coming to a standstill. However, the government has initiated intensive rescue operations and is actively relocating citizens to safer locations. The Indian Army launched rescue operations early on Sunday, successfully evacuating more than 100 stranded civilians from flood-affected areas of Puducherry. The cyclone also brought heavy rains and gusty winds to various parts of Tamil Nadu, causing severe waterlogging and disrupting transportation across Chennai and nearby areas. Meanwhile, Chennai Airport resumed operations early on Sunday, which had been temporarily suspended due to the impact of the cyclone. The India Meteorological Department in its latest update said that the cyclone over north coastal Tamil Nadu and Puducherry remained practically stationary and will further weaken into deep depression. Fresh spell of snow was received in Jammu and Kashmir's Daras and Zojala Pass as Border Roads Organisation started snow clearance operation. Traffic was temporarily suspended on Srinagar-Ladakh highway amidst snowfall in the region. On to some sports news now. England thumped New Zealand by 8 wickets in the first test at Christchurch on Sunday. Bryden Carse's scintillating 10-wicket haul and debutant Jacob Bethel's brisk half-century helped England with a commanding 8-wicket victory. The fourth day began with New Zealand in dire straits at 155 runs for 6 wickets, holding a slim 4-run lead. Playing in just his third test, Bryden Carse took 6 for 42 runs for match figures of 10 for 196 as New Zealand was bowled out for 252 in its second innings, leaving England needing only 104 runs to win. England's win was made possible by Harry Brook, whose innings of 171 in partnerships of 151 with Ollie Pope and 159 with Ben Stokes propelled England to 499 in its first innings in reply to New Zealand's 348 runs. With this win, England take a 1-0 lead in the 3-match series. The Christmas season officially begins in Mexico with giant balloons flying over Mexico City's main thoroughfare for an annual parade. A flurry of colorful balloons depicting Disney and animated characters marched along Reforma Avenue to the delight of residents and visitors lining the street. The Bolo Fest spectacle showcased local cultural talent and artistry. Brussels kicked off with Christmas season. Kicked off the Christmas season with a spectacular light show at its iconic Grand Place this weekend, with the lighting of the Christmas tree and a performance by the choir. The city hopes to surpass last year's figure of 4 million visitors, according to local media. The show will carry on through December and end on January 5th, 2025. India's public broadcaster Prasar Bharati has recently launched the Waves, entering the field of OTT platform. Waves provides a complete infotainment ecosystem to digital media and OTT audience. If you also want great content for free, then download the app Waves today. And that's all in this edition of DD India Live. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Amrit Pal Singh from my entire team here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.